I'm Clare Lally from University College London. In this poster, I'm presenting our work investigating neural representations of talker identity using representational similarity analysis. To recognise a voice, we need to be able to tell different voices apart, but also recognise the same voice across different encounters. This second skill improves as listeners gain familiarity with a talker, which suggests that we use identity information to form a more stable representation of somebody's voice. The aim of the current work was to detect neural representations associated with talker identities following exposure to naturalistic speech stimuli. To do this, we used pre-existing data from the Naturalistic Neuroimaging Database, which contains fMRI data from participants while they watched feature-length movies. We analysed the data using representational similarity analysis, which assumes that stimuli with a shared quality will evoke similar neural response patterns in the regions sensitive to this type of information. In our case, predicted similarity was based on shared talker identity. Analyses were conducted in predefined regions of interest based on functional activity in a related face and voice processing study. Our searchlight approach produced voxel-wise correlations, which indicated how well comparisons in neural activity corresponded with our predictions about talker identity. We conducted analyses in two groups of participants, who either watched the documentary Citizen4 or the romantic comedy 500 Days of Summer. We predicted that regions sensitive to talker identity would display similar neural responses to speech uttered by the same talker and dissimilar neural responses for different talkers. Regions that consistently demonstrated sensitivity to talker identity included posterior superior temporal gyri and the right inferior occipital gyrus. This was observed across two different groups of participants in response to different speakers in either movie. We then probed for representations that were preferentially sensitive to either face or voice identities specifically. We identified speech when the face of one character was on screen whilst the other was speaking off screen to compare neural responses to talkers in which only face or voice information was shared. We observed preferential sensitivity to voice identities within primary auditory cortex. However, preferential sensitivity to face identities was much more prevalent. I should note though that neither of these findings survived cluster level correction, so the maps here are voxel-wise corrected only. Our findings indicate that listeners do encode neural representations of talker identities. We observed this in response to naturalistic stimuli in which listeners were not asked to attend to identity specifically. There is some evidence of preferential sensitivity to voice identities specifically in primary auditory cortex, although sensitivity to face identities was more widely observed. Thank you for listening.